All right, so you have reached the buying process, the purchase process, the contract process. And I'm Gary Meek, living in Sacramento, California, and you're going through the process of learning to buy a house. So today I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. We're going to specifically be talking about this transaction right here. So you've, like I said, already come to us, told us, hey, I'm like pretty houses, met me an open house. Maybe you were on our website looking around, have showed some interest, some true interest. And if we're at this stage, most likely you've already gone through the pre-approval process, met with a lender, and are now ready to go ahead and look at houses. I actually like to go over with my clients the purchase contract before we go out and look at any houses, before we're ready to write an offer, because this right here can be a daunting phase. And so we try and address this up front. So I'm going to dig into this. It's actually a very, very long process, probably an hour to an hour and a half to describe everything to you. And I'm not going to get into that all today. I'm going to kind of break down this into a couple pieces. So let's go ahead and jump into phase one here. So phase one is going to be disclosure. So disclosure regarding real estate agency relationships. This is where you have said you're going to work with me as your real estate professional. You may have met other agents, you may have friends that are agents, family member that's an agent, but this is where you are putting pen to paper saying, Gary is my agent, somebody from the Living in Sacramento team is my agent. And so I have it written out here, and I have this for the most part filled out. So I just have a first-time buyer, eXp Realty of California, that's who we work for. And then here's my name and my information and our DRE number. So this back page is just the civil code. Talks about your responsibilities, talks about my responsibilities to protect you guys, keep you safe. Also says that, hey, I didn't pull your hair, didn't twist your arm, didn't put a gun to your head. We decided to work together because we like to get each other enough. We're going to do this transaction together. So fair housing and discriminatory advisory. Obviously, in today's world, there's a ton of people that are not being treated fairly. This just says that I am going to treat you fairly. And during the transaction, the listing agent's going to treat you fairly. The lender's going to treat you fairly. All the parties that are a part of this transaction are going to treat everybody fairly. Race, color, creed, national origin, sexual preference, familial status, whatever it is, you're all going to be treated fairly. So that's the scoop on this. And like I said, I'm giving you guys an overview of this. I'm also going to take and upload this to the YouTube channel into this video, so you can actually print it out, look at it, review it. And what I tell my clients to do is highlight where you have questions and bring those to me so that I can answer your questions ahead of time, so that by the time we actually get to looking at properties and you find it, hey, this is the one, I want us already to have had our discussions about this, that this really is just, process we're going through. You're not going to have all those questions at that time. So that's where we're at. That is fair housing right there. Possible representation of more than one buyer or seller. Ultimately, I could have more than one buyer looking at the same property. Usually that doesn't happen. I'd say maybe once or twice in my 20-year career have I had somebody that has said, hey, I want to see this house, or I'm going to write an offer on this house. And then I had another client that said, hey, I'm interested in the same house. Usually don't have that many clients that we're working, in the same city, same price point. But every once in a while it could happen. So also says that, hey, it's possible that I could represent the seller in this transaction. Now, we'll have that discussion. Should I be representing the seller? And then that's called dual agency. And then that's the rest of that. Wire fraud, electronic funds. Now, in today's society, we used to, in the past, we used to take an actual check from our buyers, make a photocopy of it, put it into the trust account. We used to have it delivered over to escrow. In today's world, everything happens at the point and click. You can wire money, you can transfer funds, you can send a check from your bank account. So very rarely as an agent will I touch a check, and actually never will I touch a check. If you have to take an actual check to the escrow company, you'll be required to bring it yourself to the escrow company. Now, if our escrow company happens to be in Elk Grove and we're writing offers up in Roseville, and you live in Roseville, we're not going to be asking you to drive down there. You can take it usually to a local title company So whether we're using Fidelity, Placer, Old Republic, Chicago, there is one here local that you'll be able to make that deposit here local, and they'll transfer the money down to the branch that's handling the property. So that's just the quick and dirty of that right there. We're going to actually jump into the meat of the contract. And over the last couple of years, they've made some pretty dynamic changes to the purchase agreement. So what they've done is this whole bottom section right here and this whole section right here into this page right here, page 3, and actually I guess part of page 4, are all the specific detailed information. It used to be scattered through the contract. Contract's 16 pages long now. You'll see it's one of 16 right here. Plus with the additional documents, we're at 21, 22 documents. They used to be kind of scattered throughout. What they did now is they put them all in this front section. So we get all the numbers and information dialed in first, and then the rest of it is wording. So we're gonna jump into page 1, obviously date prepared, whatever day we prepare your offer. We have this as an offer from first-time buyer, Mary and Joe Smith. Property address 123 Main Street, Sacramento, Placer County, El Dorado Hills, wherever you're making your offer. And then the county, zip code, and then of course the assessors parcel number. This is ultimately the social security number of the property. The agency disclosure, ultimately we are working together, so you guys have decided to work with me. The seller will have picked out an agent also, and the information will be filled in there. Now I chose just a standard purchase price, kind of the median price for the Sacramento region. That's $500,000. Close of escrow 30 days, pretty common for a 30-day escrow. Once in a while, seller might say, hey, I want a little bit longer time frame, and then we'll actually try and close quicker than 30 days. But 30 days is very much the common for the time frame for the area. So initial deposit, you'll see I have $15,000 here. I always like to put in a 3% deposit. If you are buying a house and you don't have that full 3%, or you're getting closing cost credits, or you're getting down payment assistance, the absolute minimum I tell anybody they should do is 1%. But in order to show strength and to show that we are interested in this property, as well as to try and beat out the other people that are going to write low $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 deposits, our deposit's going to show strength. Okay. First loan amount, $482,500. That's 96.5. Ultimately, this is an FHA loan. You can ultimately look at other types of loans. It could be a VA loan, you could be USDA, it could be conventional, and that may change that percentage of purchase price. Maybe I've been stocking away a bunch of money for the last 5 years. Maybe you're getting a gift from parents or grandparents. Maybe you sold your house and you have proceeds left over that you're going to be putting down, and that could adjust that percentage, right? So balance purchase price is $2,500 plus the $15,000, $17,500 plus the loan balance gives us the purchase price total of $500,000. Seller credit, if any, to the buyers. Now, as we're in this market right now, the market's changing. Buyers have a little bit more strength. We may be asking for the seller to kick in some closing cost credits to buy your rate down, to do repairs, just to cover some closing costs, so you have less money out of pocket. And we'll discuss that, as your needs are specific. Seller agrees to pay obligations, verification of closing costs. Wherever your money's coming from, we were going to be clicking one of these buttons to say, here's verification that you're all cash, verification of down payment closing costs, verification of loan application. We will check these boxes if and what specifically works for you. So if you have a pre-approval or a fully underwritten pre-approval or pre-qualification, those are 3 different styles of approvals. And so we try to get this fully underwritten pre-approval. That's why you're going through this process, because we want you to be fully understanding the whole entire buying process and the loan process, so that by the time we go out and really make an offer, or you look at properties and you found the one and we want to make the offer, we want you to be so far ahead of the game. We want you to be educated and want you to be prepared for everything that's coming, which then is why or how we can make your offer, less than 30 days. Final verification of property, we're going to have up to 5 days before it closes to take a final walk through the property. We have loans, we're going to have loan contingencies. So this is all contingencies right here. So you have 17 days into the process to get your loan approved. Should have no problem meeting that. 17 days for the appraisal to get accomplished, and usually that's not a problem at all, especially in today's market. You'll see investigation of property says 17 days, but I actually have it as 10. This is another area where we're trying to prove strong offer. And unless we're buying some house that's, really in bad shape, or it's got tenants in it, we're going to try and shorten this contingency to 10 days. Like I said, as I have discussion with the listing agent, I really start to pre-negotiate the offer, I might find out if that's an issue, and it may be something that we adjust for you guys. All right. Review of seller disclosures. Seller has 7 days in order to get us the documents, and then we have 10 additional days to review those. So that gives us 17. We have 17 days to review the preliminary title report. Common interest disclosures. This would be really if there was an HOA. And then if the property's got solar, then we'd have leased or liened properties. Time of possession. This is going to happen at 6 p.m. Now, do you notice this says upon notice of recordation, or 6 p.m. Usually we get our recording between 4 and 5 anyways. So that's time for the county to record it, send it back to escrow, get us the information. You're going to find out more about escrow in the process as well. Seller occupied or vacant units. If the owner is going to be staying in the property for a couple of days, a couple of weeks after, we'll go ahead and mark days and times here. And in the past, that's always been something that has been necessary in order for us to make our offer stronger. And now as we're moving to a buyer's market, it's really not quite needed as much. Tenant occupied. Most of my folks that are working are first-time buyers aren't buying a property that's tenant occupied. They're buying something that they're going to live in, unless we are buying a multi-unit, and maybe you're going to live in one and rent the other one out to help pay for your mortgage payments. Seller delivery documents, 7 days, like I mentioned. Sign and return escrow holder provisions. Escrow is going to send you some documents to sign as well. We've got HOA paperwork here, smoke detectors, water heater and bracing. Those are all items that are going to be addressed by the seller. We're going to make sure that those are all kind of standard. We just use the standard days. Keep in mind, California Association of Realtors contract, written by the California Association of Realtors. It is the entity in which I'm a member of, and it helps us to utilize these documents. These are written by attorneys, and they are written so that they are as close to down the middle as we can, as an equally fair. What we do also is, as a buyer's agent, if I'm working for you as the buyer, we are going to be trying to make this as strong as we can to protect you guys, where the listing agent's going to do the same thing for seller, try and make the listing side like as strong as she can for her sellers. Items included with the property. So we notice I've checked stove and dishwasher. Pretty common that those are there. It says bathroom mirrors. This used to be 1 or 2 items, but now there is a ton of items. And based on the property we are writing on, what do we want? The refrigerators, wine fridges, washers, dryers, microwaves. Probably microwaves is pretty common. Video doorbells, Ring, that's obviously a new thing. Electric car charging stations, that's something fairly new as well. Got natural hazard disclosure. Like I said, you guys are going to hear about these pieces in different messaging that we're going to send you. But natural hazard disclosure, about $99, often paid for in our local area by the seller. Any report specific, you guys as the buyers will be able to get reports and inspections. We're going to get to that also later. And so we'll adjust these and click these as we see fit as we get there. Smoke detectors, we talked about that, 7 days, and we push that on the seller. It's pretty common. We don't really do anything with government requirements and point of sale in California currently, so we oftentimes use these, leave these blank. Escrow fees. Each pay their own. Seller pays their portion, buyer pays their portion. That's very common for the Sacramento region. And an owner's title insurance policy, seller pays for that. That is very common also in the Sacramento region. Buyer's lender title policy. Buyer, you are paying the policy that ties your loan into the escrow and into the sale. If you're doing cash, there will not be that fee. Any county or city transfer tax, we push those off to the seller, pretty common. And it says if applicable, because it will either be city or county. Not very rarely do we have both city and county on any transaction, and county is the most common here in Sacramento. Placer County, El Dorado County, same thing. EHOAs, here's the seller pays a portion, buyer pays a portion. If there's any transfer fees, we can negotiate that. Any private transfer fees? Oftentimes when you're buying in a 55 and over community, there'll be a private transfer fee. I know the one for Sun City Roseville is going to be $3,500 currently. It always goes up or adjusts a little bit up based on inflation and all those other things. But usually there's not private transfer fee. Home warranty, can actually be pushed off either way. I like to push it on the seller side and try and get the seller to cover it. Standard's about $600. I like Fidelity. Sometimes we go to the Crest. If you're going to get a pool, or you've got a large home that's maybe got multiple air conditioning units, multiple heaters, multiple dishwashers, whatever, we may adjust that as well. Property addendum and advisories. None of these are very common. Like I said, unless you're buying a tenant-occupied property, it could be a probate property, could be manufactured. But for the most part, you are not going to see many of these that are going to be clicked, except for the ones that are pre-clicked and pre-written. So just all terms affecting the purchase price. Like I said, the deposit's here, and you're going to get several different pieces as we go through this process. They're going to talk about deposit. You're going to see me use my hand like this, and it's going to say deposit goes into escrow, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure our hands are held tight on that. And as we go through inspections and contingency releases, we will start to release some of our hold on that and move it a little closer to the seller side. But for right now, when the deposit goes in, unless contingencies have been released, that deposit stays in escrow, which is that neutral third party, and they are not going to release it to the seller. And if you get bad inspection, something changes in life, then that deposit, like I said, held as tight as we can, so that we don't release any of our interest in it. Then it would ultimately go back to you guys as the buyers, should you decide to cancel the contract. So if you have an all cash offer, obviously they will click the box for all cash. If you have a loan, there's a couple different kinds of loan products. We've got buyer's loan status, FHA loans, VA loans, conventional loans, balance of purchase price. That's that difference. That's what you're going to come to at the end and closing. And then limits on credits to the buyer. There is a limit on the type of loan you're getting, on how much credit you can get. Your loan officer is going to be talking to you specifically about that. Additional financing terms, verification of down payment and closing costs. That's where is your money coming from? Did grandma and grandpa give you a loan? Do you have it in your 401k? Do you have it in the bank? We're going to ask for documents that are going to show where that money's coming from, because we have to what's called season it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. I know that seems probably like a lot of information, but like I said, I want you to highlight, I want you to, circle stuff and ask me questions. The best part is you get to see this now before you're actually writing an offer. So you're going to be better educated than any of the other buyers out there, because no other agents really go through this that I'm aware of like this, to give their clients a full understanding of the process. When I come back, I'm going to be diving in through the rest, 5 through 16, and we'll get you guys understanding and educated on the entire car form contract and what it looks like to buy a house. So, I guess have a good one. Talk to you soon.